Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and very honored to have with us today John Bridgeland. He's the president and CEO of the Civic Enterprises, a public policy firm in Washington, D.C. He's also the chair of the Franklin Project at the Aspen Institute, and we're going to talk to him today about his book called The Heart of the Nation. And John, welcome. By the way, my son is a former Aspen colleague.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, Senator Jason Atkinson, so I don't know if you've bumped into him or not.
Sure.
Listen, nice to have you with us today. Your book deals with an interesting, really powerful subject, and that is, can we bring all this division back to some kind of a togetherness? Is it possible?
I think it is. I saw it. I was in my office in the White House on 9/11, and then moments after the attack was literally below the bunker of the White House, watching planes being grounded from all over the country. But literally within hours, phone calls came in great numbers, people all across the country saying, what can we do to help? How can we give back? How can we use our time and energies to bring the country back together in the face of national tragedy? And we need to resurrect that spirit of volunteering and our ability to work together across background and political belief to take on our big challenges in our communities and restore this sense of national purpose that we can get things done.
Well, you know, right after 9/11, of course, we saw that. We saw the coming together. We saw a return to churches. We saw the American flag everywhere. I mean, there was a sense of national togetherness and pride unlike anything we've seen, maybe even since World War II and the ending of the war. But here we are, 12 years later, and it seems to be gone.
So interesting. We had literally 5 to 6 years of historically high levels of volunteering. And you're right, coming out of World War II, we had the emergence of the greatest generation who would go on to give more in charitable contributions, give back to their communities, volunteer, vote, run for public service, and do great things for the country. At the same time, you know, our partisan divisions were really low, and even the gap between rich and poor was historically low. And we need to recreate that sense of togetherness. I think our national government, our national politics don't reflect that sense of unity, obviously. But I think in communities all across the country, we're seeing wonderful evidence of people working side by side in our nation's, lowest performing schools, helping to conserve our rivers and parks, helping to reach out and help the poor and the needy. And often faith-based institutions, which do so much of the social service delivery in the country, are on the front lines of these, what we like to call the armies of compassion, helping to restore hope and help to those in need.
The term called public service, it seems to have evolved into me and my agenda.
Yeah, exactly right. Very sadly, and that's not what Jefferson was talking about when he penned that mystical term, the pursuit of happiness. He wasn't talking about, what I can get, more cars, more vacations. He was talking about the complete and happy life, and it's something that we help one another to achieve. And the good news, I think, is, we're seeing that spirit in communities all across America, people coming together to address our high school dropout epidemic, people building Habitat for Humanity homes, people working together to reintegrate our veterans that often, have very rocky transitions back home into community life. And I think that's the spirit we have to lift up all across the country, and again, give us confidence that we can solve problems together. I also think it'll foster a generation of leaders who've learned to work together side by side, and those who enter public life and run for office, will actually know how to get things done.
All right. Can we do this without a national tragedy? Can we do this? What can inspire us to come back together? I mean, we need that today more than ever. I mean, we are in a mess, and the partisan divide has never been greater. What could possibly dissolve that and bring us back together?
I think the sense of hope is actually innate. We know from the latest neuroscience that we're wired to cooperate. When we help one another, even when it's against our own immediate self-interests, it literally triggers regions of the brain that make us healthier and happier. We did a survey of both millennials and boomers, and the baby boomers said, we're worried we're leaving the world in worse condition than we inherited it, and millions of them want to mentor and tutor young people in our neediest public schools. They want to work to help restore the state of our national treasures, our national parks. They want to reach out to veterans and their families and not just say thank you in an airport, but literally work to help reintegrate them into the community. And I think it's driven by need. So when you have a passion, you have an interest, get involved in your community, find out what the needs are, and then work through local organizations to help get things done. I think that'll rescue the spirit of hope and volunteering in the country.
And yet that sets up some kind of a dichotomy, because you have the boomers who have made it worse, and you got the Xers and the millennials are saying, no thanks, you guys lied to us, I'm not going to take your words now. So how do we bridge that gap?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think one way is there are these efforts like Experience Corps that take older Americans who obviously, particularly with these intergenerational dynamics where the shift in resources and these issues around Social Security and Medicare, et cetera, that could really divide the generations, and bringing older Americans together with younger Americans and the millennials to serve side by side. And the good news is it's happening all over the country. There are 1,500 dropout factory high schools in the United States where we lose about 50% of our nation's young people who don't graduate, with huge consequences to them and the country. And we're seeing good examples of older Americans, younger Americans working side by side to do the mentoring and the tutoring and the extra supports to keep them on track.
So do you think we have lost sight of what it is, what freedom and liberty is versus socialism? I mean, that is the great debate today. Do we understand what we're losing?
I think most Americans understand it, and I think most Americans are frustrated. They understand that with freedom and liberty come extraordinary responsibilities. The founding generation just didn't win our freedom overnight. They literally took up their muskets, they put their lives on the line, they declared our independence, and had a very difficult revolutionary war that was on the brink of disaster again and again and again. But they never lost hope. They never lost faith in what they called providence or God, and eventually would win the day. But they were worried that in creating a government and a system so strongly founded on rights, in the revolutionary period, they understood what that meant and what was involved to get those rights, that future generations might forget their responsibilities associated with maintaining that liberty. And General McChrystal, who I'm working with at on the Franklin Project you mentioned, says that for the first time in history, less than half of 1% are serving in our nation's military, and our notion of service has become dangerously narrow. And we need to make sure that there are more opportunities on the home front for civilians to make that connection between what's required to preserve our freedom and the obligations we have to serve on the home front.
John, we seem to have lost our innocence. There's something about the simpleness and the innocence of America that got thrown under the bus. How would you describe that?
Yeah, I think we live in a interconnected world now. Both the blessings and curse of technology. The days of Mayberry and communities around the country are forever gone, in the sense that we can never live in isolation. We're connected now in ways that we never imagined. But I also think that gives us great hope. I think that the spirit of neighborhood and community volunteering and caring about one another and getting deeply involved in your community and state is so vitally important, and perhaps more important now than ever. And having opportunities to connect with communities around the country and people around the world, and to learn from one another about things that are working, things that are effective, and what we can do as even internationally to make a difference, is actually something that gives me hope for the future.
We've done a little bit of neuromarketing and generational science research ourselves, and I found out that the millennials are just exactly what you're talking about. They like serving. They like, in fact, they're now saving. They're kind of bringing back the traditional thinking of America. They like traditional family structure. In fact, they were the lead generation that went to Haiti after the earthquake to volunteer. So there's something generationally that is taking place in this country.
There really is. There are about 77 million millennials, and they're showing, as you've indicated, these civic habits that are extraordinary. They don't want to wait around for government. They don't want to wait around for someone else to take on a challenge. They're creating their own institutions, own nonprofits, many working through faith-based institutions, many not only working in their communities close to home, but literally wanting to deploy to villages and huts, halfway across the world, going to Haiti, going to Africa, trying to end malaria deaths in Africa, doing extraordinary things to give back. And that gives me hope that literally the millennial generation, if it's cultivated and nurtured, and our national life doesn't become too dysfunctional, that we could literally create the next greatest generation that could do extraordinary things for our country.
All right, the book is entitled The Heart of the Nation. Where can they get it, John? Barnes & Noble, Amazon?
Yeah, you can, Amazon.com. It's just Heart of the Nation, Volunteering in America's Civic Spirit.
Wonderful. Thanks for your work, my friend. Keep it up, okay?
Thank you so much.
All right,
Good to be with you.
All right, thank you. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
Well, we have a Southern Oregonian that has returned to her roots in the studio with us today. Cheryl Martin's with us today, and she writes books, mystery books for children. Nice to have you. How are you?
Thank you. Nice to be here.
And
I'm fine.
You're in the schools doing this, huh?
Yes.
This is
I'm
wonderful.
talking about them.
The series is called the Hawaiian Island Detective Club series, and we'll get some pictures up on the screen. And how'd you start this? How'd you do this?
Well, I just wanted to write for that age group. When I was 10 years old, I loved Nancy Drew, and I decided that someday I was going to do it, and it took a lot of years, but then I started out writing for adults and really realized that where I wanted to be were for the kids.
And you're writing mystery for kids?
Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about a couple of these. Pineapples in Peril. What's this?
They're set in Hawaii because I lived there once a long time ago and loved it and thought, where would kids like to have a setting for a book?
Yeah.
And I thought Hawaii would be great.
Yeah.
And so it's a mystery about someone's vandalizing the pineapple fields. And my main character, Leilani, gets her friends to become involved because they love to solve pretend mysteries or read mystery books, and this was a real mystery. So they decide to figure out who's vandalizing the fields and why.
Wow. How do you weave God into this?
It's very subtle, but the kids do go to church. They attend potlucks at church. Leilani refers to God every once in a while or talks to him, even when she's having problems with her younger brother, who is 10 years old. By the way, my main characters are 13, and her younger brother thinks he should be part of the Hawaiian Island Detective Club, so even when she's dealing with him, she might apologize to God. Sorry, God, but my little brother makes me so mad.
So you got a couple themes going on at the same time. How is this being used in schools? How are you being used there?
Well, mainly I'm talking with kids about reading and encouraging them to read. I'm talking to them about writing. I always donate a book or 2 books, since there's 2 in the series right now, to the school libraries. I talk about writing as well. We talk a little bit about Hawaii, and we talk about the books.
Do you see interest in that from young people?
Oh, yes. They get very
excited. Even with this age, with all these computers and everything, they want to read and write?
They do, and they like the books. I mean, a lot of them will ask if it's on Kindle or something, but they do like the hardcover books as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, let's get into the other one. This one is what...
Menehunes Missing.
Menehunes Missing. Okay,
yes.
well, that's kind of interesting. Okay, what's happening here?
The little Menehunes statues. Menehunes are like leprechauns. How leprechauns are in Ireland, Menehunes are the little people, the treasured little people of Hawaii. And there's a hunt going on for these little statues of the Menehunes, and it's a fundraiser. And the kids discover, they want to participate in this Menehune hunt, and then they discover that they're disappearing for real. And so they want to know, why are they disappearing? Who's taking them and why? And that's the mystery.
Where do you get your ideas? I'm always fascinated with authors because there's a main theme, but there's all these other sub-themes that kind of parallel and goes along. It's just a fascinating gift.
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot of fun. Mostly I came up with titles first, which isn't always the case with authors. But because I kind of wanted that alliteration in the title and use something that's a mystery word and something that's a Hawaiian word, that's kind of how I came up with it. And then as far as writing, I write seat of the pants. So the story writes itself to me as I'm writing.
Really?
And I have a general idea of where I'm going, but as I go along, I don't know who the suspects are necessarily. They just kind of unfold to me.
Really?
As it goes.
What would you say to budding writers to get started on something like this? I mean, it seems like a dream come true for you, obviously, but how would people get started in something like this?
Well, I encourage them to write.
I think there's a book in all of us. I think there's a book in all of us, you know. But how do we do this, you know?
Yeah, I encourage kids of all ages to write, of course, but then also to take classes and then pursue writing groups. There's always local writing groups that kids, or, well, usually older teenagers, not kids that are this age necessarily reading these, but they can write. And then as they get older, to search out those writing groups and become involved. And that's what I did. And
where can parents get these and get their kids going? How can they get a hold of these?
Those are available online through Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Okay. They also can, I have a website, and they can get autographed copies through me. And then the schools that I visit, we always hand out order forms so parents can order them.
Okay, what's your web? Do you mind getting, is that it here?
It's www.CherylLinnMartin.com.
Oh, there it is.
And the Linn is spelled L-I-N-N.
Okay.
So.
CherylLinnMartin.com. Well, it's when you go into a school now. Do you go into like a classroom, or are you going into like a rally setting? How do they use you?
Mostly in the library, and then they bring classes in. It's either one class or sometimes it's several classes together. I've also done a huge assembly with over 400 kids at one school, and that was really fun and interesting, and they were great.
Really?
Yeah, you'd think.
What do you say to them? What do you say?
I encourage reading. First of all, that's my mission, to encourage kids to read and read what they like to read. I encourage writing. Not everybody likes to write, but whoever does, I really encourage them to pursue it. And just to find that joy in reading and writing and moving forward.
Do you journal personally?
I have on occasion, but it's not my big thing.
Really?
I'm not a big journaler.
Yeah.
So
I ask that because some people are very prolific in it, and others struggle with it. I struggle with it. I don't know. I tried it, and I keep doing it, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm writing first, third, or second, or third, or if I'm writing a prayer, or what I'm doing. I just put some words on a paper, but apparently that's what it's all about. Well, this is fascinating. Let me encourage you. It's called the Hawaiian Island Detective Club Series. What's coming up next? What do you got coming?
The third book is called Ukuleles Undercover, which in Hawaiian it's pronounced ukulele. But I always, because we say it as ukulele, that I kind of use it that way. And that was a big one that a friend came up with the name for that one, and I thought, what a cool name! And I thought, how am I going to do that? Ukuleles Undercover.
So what is it? What's going on with it?
That one is that, Leilani's a big surfer, but her younger brother, he likes music and such, and there's a mystery going on at the music school. Somebody's leaving threats, and he makes Leilani take ukulele lessons to figure it out, and she's not very happy about doing that.
Ukuleles?
Ukulele.
Ukulele Undercover. All right, now you're going to be at Hoover, Hedrick, Washington, Jackson, and Wilson.
Yes.
Starting this week?
Yes.
One each day?
Pretty much. One day there'll be two.
Well, that's wonderful. So if you have students in either one of those schools, or all of them, of course you have to live all over. But anyway, Hoover, Hedrick, Washington, Jackson, and Wilson, look for Cheryl as she'll be, talking to the students, and make sure you might want to get your son and daughter in there, especially if you're having some reading issues or writing issues. But what I'm hearing you say is you make it fun.
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do wholesome writing and fun, and the mystery is fun and exciting, and I want to encourage, like I said, the reading and the writing. And also when I'm at Hedrick, because it's the middle school, I'll be talking a lot about creative writing and some of the methods that are used to make fun creative writing.
Before I run out of time, how can parents use these books with their children?
There's a great message throughout the books of the sibling and rivalry thing and family. So Leilani has a really tough time with her little brother, and she can't figure out why her mom says that chemo's a special blessing, because Leilani says, I've never seen it. But it's how she comes to terms with that and really realizes how special chemo is. But he'll always be her annoying little brother.
So you can deal with family dynamics in these things.
Exactly.
Oh, that's wonderful. Cheryl, thank you. And again, CherylLinnMartin.com is the website, or look for them. There's pictures of them there on the screen. And you can look for them at Barnes & Noble or Amazon. You can Google them there. Thank you, and the best to you. And thanks for coming back to Southern Oregon. Again, Hoover,
yes.
Hedrick, Washington, Jackson, and Wilson. She'll be speaking to students about reading and writing, so you may want to check it out and encourage your student to go. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so
Wonderful,
much.
Wonderful stuff. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Daniel, and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market. But at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Back. I wanted to take a few moments today and just kind of give you an update on where we are with theDove and some of the projects that we're looking at, and to let you know, starting tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to take 3 days and ask for your help to kind of give theDove a little bit of a spring boost. We're down just a little bit in our budget, and we need your help to not only get back on track, but to stay on track, because operating all of these media platforms is very extensive and requires quite a commitment. And so we're just asking you to prayerfully consider what the Lord may have you to do to help us financially over the next 3 days to keep things going. Also this week, if everything goes right, we'll finally put to air KDOB, which is the new radio station in Brookings. All of the pieces of the puzzle are in place. All the parts that we needed to buy, they have been purchased, and we're pretty excited about that. So if everything works out and the weather cooperates and everything, it'll take us about 3 days to complete the project, literally on the tower, mounting antennas and getting the transmitter in place and all of that. So we're pretty excited about that, and you made that happen through your generosity, and I just want to say thank you. And that station will cover Brookings and down into Crescent City, so we're pretty excited about it. But overall, to maintain all of this is a huge commitment, month in and month out. theDove is now with 4 complete total standalone radio stations. We have about 7 or 8 translators that extends the signal into other areas. And of course, theDove TV with all of its operations and extensions. It's just amazing what it takes to keep all of this going. But most importantly, all of those things are just tools that the Lord has entrusted into our hands to reach people with the good news. And the response to the programming and to what's happening at theDove through radio, television, the internet, Facebook, YouTube, all of these things, has just been phenomenal how the Lord is using the program, the content, to minister to people. And so when you invest into theDove, you're making that happen. And we're not into growth and bigness. We go through the doors that the Lord opens to us, and we are excited to reach new areas. But the real mission here is to take the good news that God has put into the programming through all of the things that we do and reach people and encourage them and strengthen them. So through your help, that happens. So would you be praying about the next couple of days, what the Lord may have you to do? We're down about 14% in our operating budget, and you know, I believe that'll be taken care of through your graciousness and what the Lord enables you to do. And you know, we only ask two things when you support the Dove. First of all, that God's calling you to do it. You know, don't do anything He doesn't tell you to do. And two, that it's a joy for you to do it, that you actually catch the vision, the mission of what we're doing here. You actually become a part of it. You are a member of our team. And together, we're not only changing lives for good, but we're reaching people with the gospel. And through programming that provokes and causes people to think, through the teaching programs, and through some of the talk shows that we have on the radio and television, it's ministering like you just can't believe. I honestly believe that media is the mission field of our day. It is one of the greatest tools to reach the largest amount of people with the gospel as quickly as we can, and media is a huge part of that. So don't take from your church or other organizations that the Lord is having you support. We don't want you to do that. But if you have come to enjoy and rely on the Dove and you like what the Dove is doing, we certainly need your help. And so you can call today if you want to. We certainly can take your call today. But the next 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we're going to ask for your help. And so you can be praying about it. And if you'd like to give a gift that could be used in a way of a challenge to help others to give us a call and let us know maybe what the Lord would have you to do in that area. And then be praying for our project coming up, KDOB, putting that to air. We've got, like I said, all the pieces of the puzzle here, and we've tested the equipment, and it's quite dangerous work, climbing towers and hanging antennas. And so we kind of coordinate it with some of the services that need to be provided at the site, and then we coordinate it hopefully with weather. Weather's always an issue as well. So we hope that starting Thursday, maybe Friday, Saturday, we'll be able to get that completed. And that's been, oh boy, I'm going to say that's been about 7 years since we've been working on that project to get it done. So be praying for us and help us with that. And just by way of a couple of other announcements, it looks like we're slowly making progress of finally getting a radio signal into Klamath Falls. That project has literally been 10 years. And I won't bore you with all the statistics, but that's how long some of these things take with the legal and the engineering process. And we have now been given some green lights on that area. And hopefully sometime this summer we'll be able to complete that, as we just finishing up some engineering issues right now. So pray for us on that. We were really hoping, and I share this from really the bottom of my heart, we were really hoping we could have announced this week a building project that we had hoped that would have come together. And we've been working and looking for a facility, a permanent facility for the Dove for about 5 or 6 years. And unfortunately, all of the deals you go through, and those of you who have done anything in making offers and doing real estate projects and buildings and all that, you know they can get quite complicated. Our deal didn't materialize. It fell through. So we are asking the Lord to help us find a permanent place. This August, it'll be 30 years that we have been serving the Lord through the Dove and with you. And we need a new home. I say that, but more importantly, a permanent home. I've often said that the Dove is a size 12 in an 8 shoe, and that's what's happened here. We've literally outgrown this facility. We didn't plan to be here but for maybe a year as a temporary, as we were making some changes. Turns out we've been here almost 9 years, and we have completely outgrown this place. So would you pray for us on that? I don't know what the Lord has in mind. Quite frankly, it's been frustrating to me to try to figure this one out. But I do know that the Lord has something in mind for the Dove, and we do need a permanent place. So we were hoping to make that announcement this week, but unfortunately that didn't come about. But pray about that and see what the Lord would have you. We just asked you to pray about it. The Lord has to open that door. It's been frustrating to say the least, but we're going to trust Him to show us and lead us. But Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 3 days, we're asking you to help us with a little bit of a spring boost, so be praying about it. What the Lord may have you to do to help us financially. And then secondly, pray for our crew that'll be climbing the tower in Brookings and mounting antennas and putting up feed lines and putting everything in place so that we can get KDOB, that's Dove Brookings, on the air. That'll be 91.5 FM, which will serve Brookings and down into the Crescent City area. So we look forward to bringing the program, the Dove programming, to those people. So pray about it, and if you want to call us now, you're more than welcome to give us a buzz, 776-5368. You can go online. It's totally secure online to support the Dove there at theDove.us. But see what the Lord have you to do, and then the next couple of days, be sure to give us a call, okay? I will be right back. We have one more great guest today, and we look forward to sharing some great information with you and some provoking information about the gun issue in the United States. All that coming up next here on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at the Dove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on the Dove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, theDove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Well, as we all know, the gun debate in the United States is a big one, very controversial one, and it's amazing to watch what is and is not happening. Honored to have with us today John Lott. He's an economist and a political commentator. He's authored a book, At the Brink, Will Obama Push Us Over the Edge? There's a picture of it there on the screen. I'm sure that you can check it out at Barnes & Noble or online at Amazon.com. John, what title alone puts me on edge? I would say that this president is about ready to push us over the edge, and why are we letting it happen?
Well, it depends on the topic. I think there's some places where we're already at the brink, and there are other places where we're pretty close to it. The book looks at a wide range of issues, from his impact on the quality of health care that people receive, to what's happened to the economy, to people's ability to continue to go and defend themselves with guns.
The gun issue is a big one, and I've always said, of all the issues, and they're all important, don't get me wrong, I mean, from the social issues to the economic issues, healthcare, and now we got the Second Amendment issue, the one issue that could put us maybe into some kind of civil unrest would be this one. Do you think we're dangerously close to something like that?
Well, I mean, I suppose all of them have some risk of getting people very upset, but when you come to preventing people from being able to protect themselves and their families, I can see that that could cause quite a bit of anguish on the part of people. And I think Obama's going to leave his mark on that question. It's not just in terms of what he's trying to do federally, but I think at the state level, I've never seen a president who's gotten as involved in passage of state laws as Obama has. When I was first doing the book tour for At the Brink, the first state that I went to was Colorado, and just the day before I arrived there, the big news was how the White House had been calling up and twisting arms of state Democratic legislators. They got 7 state Democrats to switch their votes, more than enough to switch the outcome on the gun control bills that were being debated at that time. Vice President Biden had called up just the day before I got into the state, telling Democrats that if they voted the right way, the president would help them in their campaigns next year. And if they voted the wrong way, the White House was going to help recruit Democrats to run against them in state House primaries. So, I mean, and the big thing that they were concerned about was the passage of a law that would impose a tax on the sale and transfer of guns. That was a top priority for the White House. And, it's fine for them to feel strongly about these things. I just have never heard of a White House getting involved in state House races. I mean, it's one thing to get involved in Senate or congressional races, but state House primaries in Colorado, that just shows a level of involvement that I've never seen happen before. But it's more than just the state laws also. I mean, the Obama administration, they're putting in judges, not just Supreme Court judges, but others and they've appointed over more than half the federal judges right now. And a very large number of them are well known for having very strong views that people don't have the right to self-defense. The two Supreme Court Justices, Kagan and Sotomayor, are both on record saying that they don't believe that there's an individual right to self-defense, let alone a right for people to own guns to use in self-defense.
Wow, there's much in your statement there. Let me come back to, do you think the president recognizes he probably is not going to get any gun control out federally, so he's now lobbying at the state level?
Well, I think they feel that it's most likely that something will pass at the state level, and they've passed very strict rules in Colorado and Connecticut and New York and Maryland, and other states are considered. California is very likely to pass very stringent gun control laws. Other states that the Democrats control both the legislature and the governorship, Oregon and Minnesota, are considering bills too. But it's basically the states where the Democrats control everything that are making the changes right now. But there's still a chance. I guess we'll find out this week whether or not the U.S. Senate's going to pass gun control regulations. Harry Reid's bill includes gun registration. The other bills mentioned to me includes fees that have to be paid for the transfer of guns. I think one of the big themes in all of these bills, whether the state or the federal, that the White House is pushing is that they want to have taxes and fees on people being able to go and obtain guns. In Maryland, huge changes there. It's going to cost at least several $100s to go and get a license and register a gun in the state of handgun in the state of Maryland. In Colorado, the big bill that got passed there imposed a tax on the transfer of guns, sale of guns. We don't even know how big that's going to be. Republicans had tried to put two amendments. One was to cap the fee at, or the tax at $35. Democrats voted that down. And then they also had an amendment that would have exempted people below the poverty level from having to pay that tax. My research shows that it's basically poor blacks who live in high crime urban areas who are the most vulnerable to crime, who benefit the most from having the option to be able to defend themselves. But it was very important, apparently, to the White House that they not be exempted from having to pay this tax that the state Democrats want to impose on gun sales and transfers.
You recently published an article, Fact versus Fiction, on the background checks. Where do you think this argument's going?
Well, we'll find out this week. I suppose the most disappointing thing about all these gun debates, as well as the background checks, is people talk about the benefits, but they don't acknowledge or discuss the costs. I mean, everybody wants to try to keep criminals from obtaining guns. The problem that you face here is that these laws also have real costs, and expanding them will make them even worse. So, for example, the president claims that 2 million dangerous people have been prevented from buying guns because of background checks. That's simply false. The right terminology is that 2 million initial denials have occurred. But there's a huge difference between initial denials and stopping dangerous people from obtaining guns. So I guess a simple analogy would be the late Senator Ted Kennedy. Maybe people remember 5 times he was on the no-fly list. 5 times he was initially denied being able to go and buy a gun. Fly on an airplane. He later flew, but I assume the president wouldn't go and say 5 times we stopped a terrorist from flying. And yet that's the way they count the cases for guns. And virtually all of those initial denials for gun purchases are false positive, just like the mistakes in Ted Kennedy's case. You have somebody that has a similar sounding name to you, and it's not that uncommon, unfortunately, that people have similar sounding names for somebody who we really do want to stop, and instead it's the law-abiding citizens get stopped. Here's the issue. Obviously, for the vast majority of those who are stopped, it's just an inconvenience. They'll survive, be inconvenient, but not more than that. But the problem is that when you're talking about such a large group of people, there's going to be a significant number of them who need, if small, who need to get a gun quickly for self-defense. Women who are being stalked or threatened, who may not be able to wait months, is what happens when these initial denials occur, to have the system straightened out.
There seems to be something else behind all of this, because there is no evidence that taking guns completely away is going to stop a criminal, or maybe even the mentally ill doing what they have done in the past. So what is the socialistic thing behind taking all the guns away? What's the bottom line here?
Well, it's hard to get into people's minds. I mean, I can just see the fact that they want to go impose taxes on purchases or sale or transfer of guns, that they don't want to exempt people below the poverty level from paying those taxes. It makes it clear to me that their goal is to reduce gun ownership. I suppose, part of it is that you'll make people more dependent upon the government, less independent, if they are unable to go and defend themselves. The interesting thing is to look at surveys of police officers. A major survey of 15,000 police just came out last week from Police One, and that showed that police greatly value law-abiding citizens being able to own guns, that they think that that's an important crime-fighting tool, and that they know that they can't, even though I believe police are the single most important factor for reducing crime that my research shows, I think the police themselves understand that they virtually always arrive on the crime scene after the crime's occurred, and that raises questions about what people should do when they're having to confront a criminal by themselves. And simply telling them to behave passively is not very good advice.
The president's been doing an incredible amount of speech making about this subject, and he made a comment that was so interesting. He said, tougher background checks won't infringe on the right of responsible gun owners. That just seems like, to me, he's looking for a door, any kind of an opening, to continue some kind of gun control, which ultimately takes all the guns away.
Well, the Senate bill that Harry Reid introduced and that the White House strongly supports has gun registration in it. And people who live in California or in New York City or Chicago have seen that gun registration already has led to confiscation of different types of guns. And, there's a concern that I assume among people that registration program could lead to the same type of thing. But I think in the president's case, he's happy to do a more gradual process by having these taxes and fees that the White House has been pushing so hard to gradually reduce gun ownership. One of the places that the White House and gun control advocates point to is Massachusetts. And they started there as kind of a model for the rest of the country. They started their gun registration licensing rules back in 1998. When the rules first went into effect, there were about 1.5 million legal gun owners in the state. Now it's down to just over 200,000. There's been, in 13 years, there's been an 86% drop in the number of legal gun owners in the state of Massachusetts. And at the same time, you've seen an increase in murder rates and violent crime. Massachusetts' murder rate in 1998 was 30% below the average of its neighbors. Now it's over 30% above the average of its neighbors. Just started shooting up immediately when the registration licensing rules went into effect. And I think those types of fees and taxes and difficulties in registering, that's the model that they want to have for the rest of the country. They say it's something that the rest of the country should look at and emulate.
Well, overnight, a law-abiding citizen can become a criminal because they didn't register their gun.
Yeah, that's true. When they go and have these re-registration requirements and these taxes and training, they just make it costly for people to do things. People don't, even for other types of licenses, I assume you have some percentage of people who forget to do it or don't have time to do it, and then they are in a situation where they either lose their right to go and own a gun, or they've committed, an illegal act which could send them to prison.
All right, the book is entitled At the Brink, Will Obama Push Us Over the Edge by John Lott. Check it out. There's a picture of it there on the screen, Barnes & Noble or online at Amazon.com. Fascinating debate, John. Keep up your good work. And let's stay in touch as we get a little bit further down the road, see where this argument ultimately ends up. So thanks for your research on this, and best to you, my friend.
All right, well, good luck to you. Thank you very much.
Okay, and we'll see you next time on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Jim and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.